What would you do if a weak voice cried for help from the dark between the stars? Would you turn your ship away, or would you answer anyway? Before the story begins, take one quiet second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who enjoys humans being far more dangerous than aliens expected. For 600 years, the Breath had hunted without rushing. They did not chase their prey like wild animals. They did not roar across star systems with open guns and burning engines. They were much smarter than that, and much colder. They hunted with patience. They hunted with numbers. They hunted with one terrible truth. Every thinking species, no matter how old, proud, or advanced, still understood the sound of pain. A distress signal was not just a signal. It was a hand reaching out. It was a voice in the dark saying, "Please help me." It crossed languages. It crossed cultures. It crossed borders between enemies and strangers. And the Breath had learned how to turn that kindness into a trap. Their method was simple, cruel, and almost perfect. They placed one broken-looking ship in an empty region of space. They stripped it of clear military markings. They damaged its outer hull just enough to look real. They made the engines cough weakly. They made life support appear unstable. Then they sent out a message on every emergency channel they could reach. "We are dying. Please help us. Anyone." The message repeated in many languages. It used the right emotional tone. It had just enough panic to sound real, but not so much that it sounded fake. It carried broken medical codes, weak power readings, and a location far from busy trade routes. And then the Breath waited. They always waited. Sooner or later, someone would hear it. A hospital ship. A rescue convoy. A merchant vessel with a soft captain. A patrol ship from a young species that still believed the galaxy could be saved one good decision at a time. They always came. The Jarl had come first in that region. 8 hospital ships filled with doctors, nurses, medical drones, food, water, and emergency shelters. They arrived with open docking collars and active rescue lights. The Breath took all 8 ships. They stripped their engines. They copied their medical systems. They processed the crew. Nothing went home. Then came the Dothrani. 12 relief vessels, heavy with rescue machines and repair teams. They had heard the same cry for help and believed it. They arrived with hope. The Breath took them too. After that came others. One species after another. 43 in total. 43 responses. 43 victories. The Breath built an empire from stolen ships and stolen mercy. Their leaders loved to say that compassion was weakness. They said any species that flew toward a scream deserved what waited there. They said predators survived because prey made foolish moral choices. Admiral Korath believed that with every part of his body. He stood on the bridge of the Sovereign Claw, the lead carrier of the Breath hunting pair, and watched the trap prepare itself once again. Sector 97 Bravo was perfect. It was empty. It was silent. It sat far from the main trade lanes and far from the relay stations that carried fast messages between governments. A ship could vanish here and nobody would know for weeks. Maybe months. 2 Breath assault carriers waited behind cloaking fields. They were dark, angular, and massive. Each one was large enough to make most rescue ships surrender at first sight. Between them drifted the bait ship. It looked dead. It looked helpless. It looked exactly like something kind people would try to save. The fake distress beacon pulsed again. "We are dying. Please, someone. Anyone." Korath watched the signal spread into the dark, calm and satisfied. "Any response?" he asked. His sensor officer bent over his display. 3 vessels detected the beacon, Admiral. 2 changed course and moved away. Korath clicked his mandibles in quiet amusement. "Cowards. The 3rd is moving toward us." That made Korath lift his head. "Identify it." There was a pause. We cannot, Admiral. The configuration does not match our known records. That was unusual. The Breath had spent centuries collecting information on every major ship design in nearby space. Their database was enormous. If a vessel crossed the stars, the Breath usually knew its shape, its engine pattern, and its weakness. But not this one. Korath did not like unknowns, but he did not fear them. New prey, he said, means new knowledge. Let it come. 6 hours away, the United Earth ship Ironclad was already changing course. It was not the largest warship humanity had built. It was not even the most famous. But every plate of its hull had been designed by a species that had grown up on storms, predators, disease, gravity, hunger, war, and stubborn hope. The Ironclad did not look elegant. It looked practical. It looked like something built by people who expected the universe to punch first, and had prepared a reply. On the bridge, Captain Mara Vance read the distress signal twice. Then she read it a third time. The translation was clean, but something about it felt wrong. The voice was desperate. The ship looked damaged. The location was believable. But Vance had survived too long to trust anything that looked perfectly tragic. Before she could speak, Sergeant Major Chen Wei entered the bridge. By regulation, he should not have been there. His place during transit was 2 decks below, near the armory with his strike team. But Captain Vance had served with Chen long enough to understand one rule. When Chen appeared somewhere without being invited, trouble had already arrived. He was 41 years old, quiet, scarred, and built like a man who had personally disagreed with death many times and won most of the arguments. A long scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. He had earned it at Kessel Station, where he held a corridor for 11 hours with a broken hand, a half-empty rifle, and 5 soldiers who refused to die. Chen looked at the beacon transcript. His face did not change. That was what worried people most. When Chen looked calm, he was not relaxed. He was calculating. "Captain," he said. Vance turned. "This is my bridge, Sergeant Major." "Yes, ma'am." He placed the transcript on the display. "And that is a fake distress signal." The bridge went silent. Lieutenant Commander Hawkins, the tactical officer, turned in his chair. "That is a serious claim." Chen nodded. "The message is pretending to use Ural emergency structure. It gets the language right, but not the compression logic." Hawkins frowned. "Explain." "The Ural use base 7 patterns in emergency messages. It comes from their biology. They do not just write in base 7. Their rhythm, compression, and error correction all follow it. This beacon uses base 7 on the surface, but the compression underneath is base 8. Vance stared at him. "Meaning?" "Someone studied Ural distress signals. They copied the visible parts. They did not understand the deeper structure." "So it is a trap," Hawkins said. Chen's eyes stayed on the display. "Yes." Vance folded her arms. "Then we avoid it." "No, ma'am." The answer was immediate. The bridge became even quieter. Chen looked up. "We go in." Vance did not speak for a moment. She respected Chen, but she also commanded the ship. She had no interest in throwing lives into a trap because one soldier had a feeling, even if that soldier was usually right. "We have no backup nearby," she said. "We have enough. We do not know what is waiting. We know enough." Hawkins leaned back. "Sergeant Major, if they built this trap well, they may have multiple ships under cloak." Chen nodded. "They probably do. And you still want to enter?" "I want them to believe we entered exactly the way they expected." Vance understood then. Not the whole plan, but the shape of it. Chen was not suggesting they take the bait. He was suggesting they steal the trap. The argument lasted 40 minutes. In military command, that was almost fast. Vance argued for caution. Unknown enemy. Dead zone. Midway ridge, this is ironclad. 2 breath assault carriers. 1 damaged. Both hostile. A new voice came over the channel, calm and heavy with authority. Understood. We have them. The Midway Ridge was not a midweight warship. It was a battle carrier. It carried 800 crew, a full strike wing, heavy rail systems, and enough armor to make smaller fleets reconsider their life choices. 48 human fighters launched from its bays. They spread into attack formation, fast and sharp, moving with the reckless confidence of pilots who had been told the odds and considered them a starting suggestion. On the Sovereign Claw, Admiral Korath watched the new ship arrive. For the first time in 600 years, he felt something close to fear. Second carrier reports engine failure, his officer said. They cannot escape. Status of our ship. Hull integrity 72%. Weapons at 60%. Can we destroy the ironclad? Yes, Admiral. The officer swallowed. But not the battle carrier. Korath stared at the display. The trap had failed. No. Worse than failed. It had called more humans. His bait ship was now broadcasting his location to every vessel in range. His second carrier was crippled. His flagship was damaged. His shock troops aboard the derelict had gone silent. How many humans are on the bait ship? He asked. 22 hostile life signs remain active. 22. Korath could not understand it. 22 humans had entered his trap, defeated his soldiers, hijacked his communication system, and summoned a battle carrier. 22. What kind of species is this? He whispered. No one answered. In the bait ship's data chamber, Chen found the real reason the breath had been successful for so long. Records. The breath documented everything. Every trap. Every captured ship. Every species. Every crew. Every useful technology. Every person taken. Every final category assigned. Reyes found the core behind 3 sealed panels. At first, Chen expected tactical intelligence. Fleet locations. Weapons data. Command codes. Useful things. What he found was a graveyard written in numbers. The Jarl Hospital Fleet. 8 vessels. 347 personnel. Status, processed. The Dothrani Relief Convoy. 12 vessels. 891 personnel. Status, processed. The Galari. The Mothsaw. The Hen. Line after line. Year after year. Species after species. 43 civilizations had sent help. The breath had turned each act of mercy into inventory. Chen read in silence. His team knew that silence. Reyes stopped asking questions. Torres stood beside him, expression hard. Then Chen found entry 2847C. The translation took a moment. Human civilian transport. Registry, UES Meridian Dawn. Chen's hands went still. Torres noticed immediately. She knew that name. Everyone close to Chen knew it. The Meridian Dawn had vanished 14 months earlier while crossing the Caranval Reach. It had carried students, researchers, civilian crew, and a medical survey team. Among them was Dr. Jennifer Wei, Chen's sister. The official investigation had found nothing. No wreckage. No distress record. No debris field. No survivors. The Navy had called it an unknown loss. The breath database was more honest. It listed the ship. It listed the crew. It listed the passengers. It listed Jennifer Wei by name. Status, processed. Chen set the reader down. For 30 seconds, he did not move. The room seemed to shrink around him. Reyes looked at Torres, unsure whether to speak. Torres did not look away from Chen. Finally, she said quietly, "What do you need?" Chen's voice was level. Get me a line to the Midway Ridge. Torres nodded. Chen picked up the data core. And tell Captain Vance I need Admiral Korath alive. 4 minutes later, Admiral Ewan of the Midway Ridge received the full breath database. His reply came directly to Chen. Sergeant Major, I have reviewed the data package. All human forces in this engagement are under your operational direction until the breath command structure is secured. What do you need? Chen looked at the tactical display. The Sovereign Claw hung ahead, damaged but alive. I need to board the flagship. There was a pause. Then Admiral Ewan said, approved. The approach was not subtle. 2 human shuttles moved toward the Sovereign Claw at full speed. Behind them, the Ironclad and Midway Ridge aimed every major weapon at the Breath flagship's bridge and engine core. The message was clear. Let the humans board, or become wreckage. Korath let them board. The docking port opened. Alpha Strike entered the Sovereign Claw. The breath carrier was huge inside. Corridors were wide and tall, built for a species larger than humans. Walkways ran along upper walls. Heavy doors opened into armor chambers. Every surface was dark metal, sharp angles, and military pride. Breath soldiers watched from side passages. None fired. They had seen the recordings from the bait ship. They had expected prey. What walked through their corridors did not behave like prey. Humans moved differently when they were angry. Not loudly. Not wildly. They became focused. Efficient. Almost quiet. That quiet disturbed the breath more than shouting would have. Reyes walked point, rifle ready. Torres covered the left. Chen walked in the center, carrying the stolen data core like a verdict. The first intercept squad blocked them 2 corridors from the bridge. 8 breath soldiers, fully armored, weapons active. Chen stopped. His translator projected his voice in clear breath dialect. Tell your admiral I have his database. I know what he has done. I know every ship, every planet, every name. The breath soldiers shifted. Chen took 1 step forward. If he wants to discuss his future, I am coming to the bridge. If he wants to stop me, he can try. He paused. I have already met his best soldiers twice today. It did not go well for them. The intercept squad looked at the humans. 22 dark armored figures stood in the corridor like they belonged there. Not tense. Not afraid. Waiting. Slowly, the breath soldiers stepped aside. Chen walked on. Stay with the story now, because this is where the breath finally learn what kind of species answered their fake SOS. Like the video, subscribe for more HFY stories, and share this with someone who understands why humans never ignore a cry in the dark. The bridge of the Sovereign Claw had been designed to make visitors feel small. The ceiling rose high overhead. Tactical displays curved across the walls. The command throne stood above the rest of the crew stations, so Admiral Korath could look down on everyone who entered. The breath understood fear. They understood theater. They understood how to make power visible. Chen walked in and did not look impressed. That alone unsettled the bridge crew. He stopped 5 meters from Korath's throne. Korath was large even for his species. His plated body was gray and hard. 4 arms rested in a posture that suggested calm control. His compound golden eyes reflected Chen in dozens of tiny broken images. You are the human commander, Korath said. Sergeant Major Chen Wei, United Earth Special Operations Command. Korath studied him. You are not what I expected. No, Chen said. We usually are not. You wish to discuss surrender terms. It was not exactly a question. Korath was already trying to recover. His mind searched for leverage. Prisoners. Technology. Political value. Anything. Chen held up the data core. I do not want to discuss terms. For the first time, Korath looked uncertain.